Welcome to the Redline Politics. Stay ahead of the headlines. Subscribe now and never miss the next big clash. They called it just another political hearing, the kind of dull session most people expected to fade into the background. But on this day, something very different unfolded. The cameras were on, the room was full, and two figures sat across from each other who were about to turn a routine exchange into a national spectacle. On one side sat Ken Paxton, bold, restless, and brimming with the kind of confidence that made him believe the room already belonged to him. He straightened his papers, smirked at the journalist sitting nearby, and leaned back as though he had already won the argument before it had even begun. For Paxton, this wasn't about dialogue, it was about dominance. On the other side sat Jasmine Crockett, calm but razor-sharp, her eyes fixed, her demeanor steady. She wasn't there to play Paxton's game. She wasn't there to bow to interruptions or be drowned out by arrogance. She was there with purpose, armed with knowledge, and determined to make sure the law, not bravado, was the final word. The moderator opened with routine introductions, but the energy in the room was tense. Journalists adjusted their cameras. A few members of the audience whispered, sensing something unusual. Paxton leaned forward, his voice ready to cut through the air before anyone else had a chance. And that's when the first interruption came, then the second, then the third. Before Crockett could even finish a thought, Paxton leapt in, speaking louder, sharper, more aggressively. He wanted control. He wanted the floor, and he didn't care how many times he had to bulldoze over Crockett to keep it. By the time the fourth interruption hit, heads were turning. People in the room began exchanging glances. It was clear this wasn't going to be a civil debate. Paxton was treating it like a battlefield. But what no one realized yet was that Crockett wasn't rattled. She wasn't frustrated. She was patient. She was letting him build the storm. And when the time came, she would strike with precision. The interruptions piled up, one after another. 5. 6. Paxton's voice grew louder, almost theatrical, as if the sheer force of his interruptions could drown out reason. He leaned into the microphone, pointing his finger for emphasis, cutting off Crockett before she could reach her point. 7. 8. By now, even the moderator struggled to keep order. The audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Reporters scribbled furiously, trying to capture every barb Paxton threw, every attempt he made to seize the spotlight. And then came the 9th interruption. This time, Crockett's lips tightened into the faintest of smiles. It wasn't the smile of someone defeated. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting, patiently, for exactly this moment. She didn't fire back immediately. She let the silence linger, a silence that suddenly made the room feel heavier. Paxton, mistaking her calm for retreat, smirked again, confident he had silenced her. But what he didn't realize was that Crockett wasn't silent because she had lost. She was silent because she had him exactly where she wanted him. Every interruption was building his arrogance higher, and the higher it went, the harder the fall would be. The journalists in the back began whispering. Some in the room exchanged uneasy looks. Was Crockett going to allow this? Would she just let him steamroll the discussion? No. She was calculating. She was waiting for the 10th interruption, the exact moment where Paxton would overextend, where his confidence would cross into recklessness. And when that moment came, Crockett would be ready. Finally, after 9 interruptions, Crockett leaned forward. Her voice, calm but cutting, sliced through the noise. "Are you finished, Mr. Paxton? Or do I need to cite the law you seem so determined to ignore?" The words landed like a hammer. For the first time all evening, the room froze. The smirk faded slightly from Paxton's face. His hand, which had been gesturing confidently, now hovered uncertainly over the table. He tried to respond, but Crockett raised her hand, stopping him cold. Her tone sharpened. "You've interrupted me 9 times already. But let's make this simple. I came prepared, with citations you can't argue against. She reached for the thick binder in front of her, a binder meticulously marked with tabs and notes. Reporters leaned forward. Cameras zoomed in. Paxton's eyes flicked toward the binder, and for the first time, the cracks in his confidence began to show. "This isn't about your citations," Paxton blurted, trying to reclaim. "Ground. Wrong," Crockett snapped back instantly. "This is exactly about the law. And since you've cut me off 9 times already, let me make the 10th count." She flipped the binder open, the pages rustling like a storm-gathering force. Her finger landed on a page marked in red. Slowly, deliberately, she raised it for the room to see. "This," she declared, her voice steady but ringing with authority, "is the citation you cannot outrun." The silence that followed was deafening. Paxton's lips moved, but no sound came. The bravado that had carried him through 9 interruptions faltered. The room, once filled with his booming voice, was now overtaken by her precision. Crockett began to read. Her tone was deliberate, each word carrying weight. "According to Section 10, Sub-Chapter B," she stated firmly, "your actions fall directly under misconduct defined by federal standards. And let me remind you, sir, you are not above those standards." The words hit like thunder. The audience stirred. Journalists scribbled frantically. The moderator shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Paxton tried to interrupt again, but the words caught in his throat. He stammered, his voice cracking under the pressure. His confidence, so loud, so unshakable just minutes before, was unraveling in front of everyone. Crockett didn't relent. She pressed forward, building momentum with each line. Every precedent she cited, every statute she referenced, tightened the walls around Paxton. She wasn't just arguing anymore. She was dismantling his position, brick by brick, in real time. The room erupted in murmurs. Some nodded in agreement. Others simply watched, stunned, as the dynamic completely shifted. Paxton leaned back in his chair, his arms crossed tightly, his eyes darting. But there was no escape. The 10th citation wasn't just a rebuttal, it was a knockout punch. Crockett closed her binder with a sharp thud that echoed across the room. "Now," she said, her tone steady but commanding, "shall we continue this discussion with respect? Or do I need to remind you again?" The silence that followed was heavy, thick with the weight of defeat. Paxton didn't respond. He couldn't. The words wouldn't come. And in that silence, the room knew the truth. Ken Paxton, after 9 relentless interruptions, had been silenced by Jasmine Crockett's 10th citation. It wasn't just a debate anymore. It was a moment of reckoning, and it was clear to everyone who had truly won.